Okay, what's up, everybody? So, look, we're back here today to discuss, I believe it was speed. If I look at the comments, I don't think there is anything else besides speed, but I assume it means just movement speed in general, like attacks or running or something. But for now, I'll do movement speed for attacks, primarily the sword, if you will. If you can see it right here. So once again, we're gonna start with that thing called starting frames, and like usual, of course, I have tons of starting frames for the first initial part of the animation until here. This is the startup frames. Now, for speed, since this is, an explanation on speed, I did it in four ways. We have the normal speed, we have a slightly faster speed, of course, and then, we have very, very fast speed. And then after that, we have extremely fast speed. That's how I'm going to categorize these. All right. So for speed, just for regular slashes, there's the thing called frames, the starting frames once again. So for the first initial cut, we have 4 frames before an action frame. All right, and this is what decides your speed, the actual speed it takes or the amount of frames it takes to make an action happen. In this case, there are 4 frames before an action happens. Then after that attack, there are 3 before another action happens. And then after that cut, there are 4 more until another action happens. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys have noticed the pattern here. Every single time there's an attack in this case, there's usually an average of 3 to 4 frames in between each attack. Now, I'm gonna play it. There we go. Oh, it's playing from the very last one. Hold up. There we go. That's how it looks with just 4 frames in between. I mean, 3 to 4 frames in between. Now, as you saw from the orange one, this, I add the orange thing just to show you a difference, so it doesn't look like the same one, but just slightly faster. Now, the orange one is slightly faster than the other one. The way it's slightly faster is because it takes 2 frames before an action starts. 1, 2, and then the action. Now, when it comes to making speed, this is all you got to do. All you got to do is make less frames in between actions. If you're just talking about movement speed, though, because there's many different ways of making speed, and sometimes just making the movement speed isn't enough or it doesn't work. But in this case, it kind of works. So, of course, you have the action here 1, 2, action. 1, 2, and then action. And that's it. For this one, there is an average of 3 frames of 2 frames every time an action in between every action. So it looks like that, slightly faster, right? Now we're going into something a little faster. We call this quick, or we call this faster speed, or whatever, you know. So for this one, I actually had to slow it down at the beginning because it literally is the fastest of pretty much it's the fastest you can get when it comes to frames in stick notes, because you can't make a 0.5 of a frame, basically. You can only make it go down to 1. And you can't do slow mo unless you make a lot of frames for it. And even then, you still have to make you know, it still has to go the same speed. So you have to think about it differently. Back to the topic at hand. So for this next one, Swords Red this time, because I had to make it slightly different. There's literally 3 startup frames, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 action frames. Well, 4 action frames. This is the end cut. So there is literally no frame in between these attacks. Now, this is how you would simulate the fastest speed in stick nodes, in my opinion, if you were to just try to make something fast, but not so fast that the eye can't keep up with it. Now, of course, I'm going to show you how that looks. Very fast, right? One more time. One more time, just for those who can't, just for those who couldn't see it. Now that's how you would make the frames. That's how you make a very, very fast attack. Now, personally, I don't like doing that because it's very hard to. I just don't do it. I'm not even going to make an excuse. I just don't do it because I just don't feel the need to. I can always make it look like that, but usually when I do an attack like that, it's usually because something is attacking extremely fast. Like if like Dragon Ball Z characters or something. You know how they like fly through the air and attack at like Mach 2 or whatever? Yeah, that's how I would do it. Now, the final one, the extreme, the fastest of them all. I say it's the fastest, but really it's just this one, but with like extra steps, if you will. So for this one, you have the exact same thing. You have a bunch of load up frames, the very start of the frames, and then you have one, two, three, boom, action. Now, there's a lot going on here, so let me just explain that. I put the effects that way you can count how many effects are actually there. These giant lines going off the screen. Now, there's two of them. The reason for that is because I'm simulating two attacks in one single motion. That's how I make something look abnormally fast. If it was an attack, in this case, a sword attack. For a fist, it would be a little different, but in this case, since it's a sword, I can just do it like this. Now, there is no, I make his arm disappear because it's no longer standing still, make his body slant a little bit, and I add a bunch of these spiky effects around to simulate, the attacks. And believe it or not, this is only 3 frames. It is literally the same amount of frame data as the red one, except for its final cut. Other than that, it's the exact same. So as you can see, for each one of these, there's going to be 2 effects. 2 giant spike lines and 2 of these babies. 2 of those. 2 here, and that's it. On each one, it looks like a lot because this is just how it is sometimes. But it's just literally doubling the actual amount of stuff on screen that makes it look faster. Or that that's going the exact same speed. And then it ends. Yeah. And then of course I had to add more effects just because I wanted to. With the little waves. Oops. Yeah, this is the only issue I don't like with these things. With the little waves, these little babies. So, once again, let's play the fastest one. Play it again. Play it one more time. Just one more time. Boom. See? Easy stuff for the most part, Now, of course, I mentioned, the startup frames, the end frames, I mentioned those all before. I mentioned, the action frames, which is the actual attack itself. Now, for the blue one specifically, I'm gonna introduce a new little topic, and I call it dividing frames. Basically, it's like simulating, it's like cutting a frame in half without cutting a frame in half. And I basically explained it, but I'll go over it again just in case it went over someone's head. You basically add more motions or more actions in one single frame. So let's say instead of him doing 1 sword slash, he does 2 at the exact same time. You just cut the frame in half by initiating another action on top of an action. That simulates a faster speed in the actual animation, which is why it looks like a lot more attacks are going in, which is that's why it looks like that, to simulate more attacks at a faster speed. And that's divide framing, or that's dividing frames, if I was to make a term for it. So I'm going to show you all one more time, but this time the full thing. Then we got the 2 frames, the single frame, and then the divide frame. So just think about putting more actions. If you're going to make speed for actions like punches, swords, even spears, you want to make another action happen at the exact same time as your original action. So if your character throws out a sword strike, you want a separate sword strike going out at the exact same time. All right? So I think that's it. Of course, I'm going to upload this video separately from the tutorial for those who just like to watch it and slow it down and don't like to hear me talk or whatever, right? And I think that's it.